I'm Jordan, and this is Unedited. So before we get into what we're about to talk about today, I'd just like to say to you, Yasmin, and to all the women out there, happy International Women's Day, which was yesterday, right?
Awesome. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and there was a hashtag. I think it was was it Break the Bias?
Mm-hmm. That was a campaign this year, yeah.
That's
So you've got lots of hashtagging going on.
Absolutely, yeah. We want to make mention of it. We appreciate you all, and just want to throw it out to you. But today is another day of sorts that's kind of happening, right?
Kind of a weird one.
Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of fun,
but it's kind of fun to talk about.
Yeah.
Today is National Get Over It Day.
Oh, nice.
And I'm sure at some point in your life you've been told to get over it or to get over yourself or whatever that looks like. But it's a very real thing. So I did some Googling and some searching to figure out, what this, was it a legit thing?
So what's the background? What's the history?
So it is a very real thing. The man who created this day was named Jeff Goldblatt, or Blatt. Goldblatt.
Goldblatt.
Yeah, and he was having trouble getting over his ex-girlfriend.
Oh, wow.
So it's literally based and rooted in a failed romance.
Oh, no.
Which I find super entertaining.
Yeah.
But it was actually such a big deal. He wrote this poem called Purpose and Perspective.
Oh, wow.
Now, you'll have to Google it or whatever, but there's tons of movies that were listed, songs, books that are based on it, which we didn't even know, because I'm sure you've probably seen some of the movies, heard some of the songs, but it was a pretty big deal. And he had people listening to it, reading it, because it's even on YouTube. You can actually listen to the poem, and you could get a bracelet from him, one of those jelly bracelets that people have, that said it could be worse.
Okay. Wow.
So you would go and you would get this bracelet,
and
you would email them and tell them what you had to get over.
Okay.
And when you did this, he printed it out on paper and shredded it for them.
Okay.
So there's actually a whole thing about this, right? So it's kind of crazy.
Do people actually wear these bracelets, do you think, today?
Well, I have never seen them.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's an American. So
pretty soon you're going to see me every 10 minutes.
It could be worse.
Oh,
it could be worse. It could be worse.
Get over yourself, Jordan.
But it got me thinking, though. I mean, there are a lot of things, little quirks about each individual, about us and about our spouses or our friends that, sometimes we just need to get over something.
I agree.
So we were talking before this, and I said to Jordan's what do I need to get over? I know I've got lots of little quirks. He couldn't think of one, not one. So he said, I'm going to text my wife. And of course, she came through, and she's given us a bunch. So tell me some things that you can't get over.
Well, I'm not going to go through the whole list because we don't have 2 hours, right? So we're trying to keep this somewhat short. But she did mention a couple of things, and I said to her, what are little hang-ups that I need to get over? And I let her know why, because I didn't want her to get too cruel about this, right? But here's one that I need to get over, and I chuckle at this a little bit. And this is a quirk. I don't know why this annoys me, but she said, when the girls leave cereal and milk in their bowls all day. And she's right about this, because it
gets mushy.
Yeah, it gets all mushy and it's sitting there and it just
expands.
I don't like it. Expand. Yeah, I wake up and I get frustrated and I immediately grab it and into the garbage, right?
So what would you want them to do?
I don't know what I want
eat
them
it
to do.
all?
I just need to get over it. See, I have no real solutions here to fix this problem, right? But that's one of them that bugs me. When we change plans for meals, I'm such a routine person sometimes, I've realized that if I'm expecting pizza and I get home and there's tacos, I'm like, what just happened? What is going on here? What changed in this last little bit? Back to food, she texted here as well. When someone accidentally puts onions on your burgers, and it's she's so right. If I go through a drive-through,
can't you just pick them off?
I know you can, but it's just a quirk, right? It's a.
Do you say no onions?
Every time, every single time, yeah.
And what, it ruins your day?
No pickles, no onions. I don't know if it ruins my day, but I need to get over it, I think. She must know something about my behavior that seems
something changes, something shifts.
Yeah, I'm gonna say one more here, okay? And this one I could freely admit to. When you bend a page in a book or dent the corner of a vinyl record, I know secretly you want to go out and buy another copy. And,
even a book.
Yeah, I'm such like a perfect book person. Like, you know those book destroyers who like open them and like bend the cover.
Oh, I do that.
It stresses me out.
Okay, and I don't use a bookmark. I fold my pages.
Yeah. See, I can't do it. Yeah. For me, I have a bookmark on hand. I have a highlighter on hand usually.
I mean, albums I get because you collect them and they're a big deal.
Yeah.
But the books, no. Like I even write in some and highlight in some. And
I had someone pick up a book for me once, and it was a very nice favor that they did. I won't mention who it was, but they picked it up for me at the store and they dropped it when they were walking out, and this was in January. And when they got back to my house, the book came and it had a nice orange cover, and it was like dented all along the side.
So what, you didn't read it?
I very nicely said, well, thanks so much for picking that up, right? But yeah, secretly I was a little frustrated. Probably I needed to get over it, and I did get over it, and I did read that book, and I still am thankful, and accidents happen.
That's so funny.
But those are little quirks of mine. Anything for you?
Well, I don't know. It's hard because I was saying to you, if you're talking things like that, I'm sure my family could say a million. But the biggest one I can think of is shoes at the front door. And I told you, like, I choose not to get over it because I believe those shoes must not ever be there. So I don't know how to get over it when I don't believe that I need to.
Yeah, you need to keep a broom at your front door and just sweep and shove everything aside as you walk.
Well, and my parents were like that when I was younger. My dad, this one time, he threw my boots and my winter jacket out in the snow because I left them in the front entrance. So clearly it's like rooted in my childhood somewhere. He's like, yeah, you'll never forget now, will you?
Wow.
Yeah, they were outside in the morning when I went to school. My boots and my jacket were outside.
Yeah. Well, that's fun. That's fun. What are your tics? What are the things that you need to get over? I think we all need to get over something, right?
Yeah.
And there's serious things I need to get over too.
Well, I was going to say, it depends on what we're talking about.
Yeah, there are some times where I find myself frustrated throughout the day, and I was like, just get over it. Like, come on. It's not that big of a deal. So I actually like this day. I think this day is kind of fun. I think it kind of reveals the silly little things. Please don't hold or judge me for those things, please, okay? But and I'm slowly getting over them, okay? But yeah, National Get Over It Day. What are some other ways we can get over things?
That's what I was going to say. How can we get over things? Whether it's like big things, small things, like how do we get over ourselves, right? And our habits, maybe just things that annoy you and drive you crazy about people even. Maybe not just little quirks like you're talking about. How can we do that? So write in the comments below things that either you want to share with us that you can't get over, or maybe some tips of how you did get over something. But we are going to show you something we did this week to see if we could get over some stuff. So check out this video right now. Well, that's a good way to describe what happened. Now, this is definitely a form of therapy for many people.
I think so.
I mean, and it's funny how their font looks very therapeutic,
It
right?
does, yeah.
And Ashley actually asked them about that, and that was intentional. It looks like this calming peace place.
Yeah.
My son so loved it. George was ready to smash
yeah.
every single piece in that place.
Yeah.
The lady who helped us that owns it, she was fantastic. Great service, great customer service. Local paintings even in the lobby, stuff like that. But for me, like, because I don't, like, it was a great place. It was really hard to think that I was wasting those things too. Like, it was hard for me to think like, oh my goodness, this is a glass, smash. Like, this is a windshield. Actually, that one was okay.
Yeah,
that
smashing a stereo felt sacrilegious to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really did. It really did. I checked, actually, I literally looked to see if there was a phono on it, right?
Really?
Because a phono hooks up to a turntable, and I was like, this can be used. So, but there wasn't one. So
yeah, George is like, wouldn't it be cool if we tried to plug it in and it worked? I was like, well,
George was having a day there, right?
He really was.
I had fun watching him, actually, just kind of getting that out, right?
Well, yeah, and he did most of the smashing afterward, because it was loud too, right? Yeah. So if you have a sensory issue, right, like anything like that, that probably wouldn't be your thing, especially if there's other people in the stalls.
Yeah. They do offer earplugs. He actually wore them, didn't he?
Oh, maybe that's what we should have done.
We didn't wear them.
We didn't wear them.
Yeah, we should put them on.
That's on us then, that part of the noise part. We did wear the hat or the helmet and the thing. We probably should have worn boots.
Yes.
We should have been more prepared.
Yeah,
we wore runners. I should have worn my contacts.
Yes, there's lots of glass in that place. So,
But it was good. But then when Ashley and I got back into the van, we both were a little shook. Hence we needed quiet time and a cup of coffee to wind down. She's like, I'm going to buy you a coffee. So I need this to calm down. So so I would do it because with a group of people maybe and do a couple things, but I couldn't smash forever.
Yeah. No, I think part of it I liked it. Like there were certain things about it. Like it's smashing a windshield's always just a kick, right?
Yeah, that one didn't bother me too much.
A couple glasses and stuff is fine. Smashing that phone I think felt kind of nice. But yeah, I came back and I felt a bit stressed almost after the whole thing, right?
I know.
In a sense, I just felt like, did I do something wrong here? Like,
well, you did, because the Christmas stuff you wanted to salvage.
That's right. And there was Christmas stuff.
It was like there was
Christmas mugs and plates and stuff, and we were smashing these things.
Yeah.
Just great. I definitely didn't like smashing anything Christmas, but it was fun. Like, I'd recommend it. I think some people, if that's your personality, that'd be such a
well. There's people who purposely go and like sledgehammer things and do things. So this what a great idea.
Yeah.
Right. But whoever works there, I can't imagine the amount of work that goes into cleaning up each of those rooms in between people.
I thought that because like the floor was just dangerous. Loaded with glass. Right?
Yeah.
So you'd have to have some sort of protocols in place. But no, I thought it was fun. I thought it's a really good thing. Customers, they were awesome, eh? Like the people working there.
Really nice.
I felt like they were so nice and so helpful. And no, it was a good experience. I think some people, your personality type, you'd love to go smash.
You'll know.
I recommend you try it.
Yeah.
I think everyone needs to go in there and
just once at least. Yeah. Just try it. Yeah. So Smash Therapy, it's in the industrial area.
Yeah.
On the north end. So if you want to check that out, you should.
Yes.
So this week on the talk, we're going to switch some gears. We've been in Jonah. We finished off the book of Jonah, which was awesome. And we decided that we're going to call this series, You Said What?
I'm going to let you say that all the time, okay?
I'll have to figure out new ways to say that. But basically, there's things in here in the Bible that are really hard to hear. Mm-hmm. Or maybe not to hear, but to actually put into action. Yeah. And so we're going to talk about some of those ones that are really difficult or maybe even just really confusing, right, throughout the series. So we're going to do that for a while. I'm starting off with a really hard one.
Yeah.
I think
so too.
A really hard one to live out. Mm-hmm. So today we're going to talk about loving your neighbor, which we have talked about before. And that one doesn't sound so bad. But what if I told you that you have to love your enemy too?
That's where it gets more difficult.
It gets a little difficult. Yeah. So bear with me. Open up your heart. Open up your mind to what we're going to talk about today, because it is really hard to hear sometimes. So I am going to be in the book of Matthew. I'm going to be in chapter 5 at verse 43. But before I actually read the scripture, I want to explain to you a little bit of what's going on, especially if you haven't been in the Bible very often. Mm-hmm. So Jesus is actually teaching at this point. Mm-hmm. And it's famously called the Sermon on the Mount. So you may have heard that term before. And he's inviting people that he's talking to live under his rule. Yeah. Right? And under his ethics and his value system of the kingdom of God's people and what they look like if you are following him. And he's actually not interested in modifying our behavior. He's interested in exposing and moving towards like these really deep rooted issues in our hearts and our minds, right? And our habits. And these issues, believe it or not, are what sabotage and corrupt our relationship with him and with each other, right? Yeah. So the highest ethic for Jesus, the highest value for the kingdom of God is Jesus, for him, is loving relationships, healthy, loving relationships, loving God and loving people and doing it in a healthy way. Yeah. He wants to expose it, whatever the problems are, move towards it, not like just ignore it, and have us deal with it, which is what I think is the hardest part about this, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
I agree.
So I'm going to read, so like I said, Matthew 5. We're going to start at verse 43 and just read a short portion. You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends the rain on the just and on the unjust. So, loving people, okay? Even those who you hate or maybe hate you. Because sometimes that's the trick there too, right? Like maybe you like somebody, but they just don't like you. And that's the whole, you said what? Like you're telling me that I need to do this? It's a really hard one. So this word right here, this whole sermon that he's sharing on the mountain is really a mountain of human history to me. Like this is an epic moment of the things that Jesus is sharing. No one's ever said anything like he's saying here, right? Yeah. And then actually lived it out. Yeah. Right? Like maybe people were saying things, but didn't actually live it out. And he truly did. And that's what I find is so profound and beautiful about it. That this love that he's talking about in these verses have the capacity to completely transform human communities. Yeah, 100%. Cities, the world, everything, right? To even if we could understand it a little bit and put it into practice, just even a little bit, I believe it would just ruin us in the best way possible. Yeah. Because God is love without boundaries. There's no rules. There's no things he doesn't get over, like we were just talking about. It's this love that's for your friends, but it's also for your enemies.
And I think the first part of that we understand. Love your friends, okay, easy, right?
So easy.
Love your enemies.
Especially when people like you. Like that's really easy to get, or you have common interests or anything like that. And there's a lot that could be said in these verses, but so when we're looking at Jesus's life and we're looking at his word, he lived and had a God-saturated view of the world. And what does that mean? Well, he viewed every breath, every exposure to the sun, to the rain, every meal, every friendship, every laugh as utter gifts and grace from God. That's how he chose to walk and live his days. And that's very significant. Jesus observed those, though, who had a good life and maybe did deserve to have a good life, but he also observed those who didn't live a good life and maybe didn't deserve a good life, but they still all get the same sun. That's what's cool what he's saying in here. The sun still comes up on the evil and on the good, right? And there's something that's really cool about this and how the weather can show God's bountiful generosity, right? So for example, the farmer who is this super upstanding man who pays his workers fairly, is good to his family, right? Gets the same weather as the farmer who is a cheat and a liar and pays his workers terribly and treats his family horribly, right? They get the same weather, the same life-giving rain, right? Which is very cool when you look at the weather to look at how God equally gives his love to us, good or bad, right? Yeah. Now my problem, and that's, I mean, I can't go into this whole verse, but there is a lot that's being said here with the weather and the sun and different examples that you can think of. But see, when I was looking at this, I was like, okay, so I can explain that part of it, but this word love in the English language is confusing. right? And it gets translated in our English Bibles as the word love, right? Because it was originally written in Greek. And people can think, oh, maybe there's something lost in translation. Actually, the problem is in our English language, right? We like to use one word for like 75 different things, right? So the word love, I'm convinced, is one of the most unhelpful, unclear words in the English language.
I'd agree. It gets
right?
watered down.
Right? Because it's unhelpful because it means so many different things. So just for example, I can say that I love burgers.
Yes.
Because
with no onions.
With no onions.
Yeah.
With no onions.
Sorry.
And I'm telling you that because I prefer burgers, right?
Yeah.
Or I could say I love the theater.
Yeah.
Because I love and appreciate it, and there's something about it that makes my heart smile, right? Like that's another term. But I can also use the same word to say that I love my friends and family and my children. That's about affection and loyalty, right? Different. Very different. All of them are so different. So I think we almost need different words to describe those things, or stop using that word. I don't know what it is. Yeah. It's very confusing. But so that's in our culture as well, which is commonly, love is usually associated with a feeling.
Yes.
Wouldn't you agree?
I agree.
Right? So like primarily that it's an emotion, something that happens to you. But the love that's being talked about in here, in the Greek language, is this agape love.
Yeah.
Okay? Which means something completely different. Which is why when I'm telling you to love your enemy, you're using the word in the English way to try to think about that, right? Yeah. So are you supposed to have warm and fuzzy feelings towards somebody who backstabs you? Or maybe someone who like backhands you? Like, are you supposed to have warm and fuzzy feelings for that person? Is that what Jesus is asking you to do, is to make these feelings happen, to generate those warm and fuzzies? Mm-hmm. It's not. Yeah. We're talking about an attitude, about a mindset, right? And then an action that flows from that mindset. An action, which is super important, the action word. God has chosen to perform actions of kindness and generosity towards his people, regardless of how we behave, regardless of whether they like him or whether he happens to like what they're currently doing in that moment, right? Our God has chosen this agape love. It's not like he's asking you to somehow be warm and fuzzy to your enemy. What he's asking you to do is to choose to view them in a different way, in a certain way. Choose to view them the way that God sees that person, right? And they're beloved to him, no matter what you think of what they're doing or how you get along with them. And they might be screwed up in different ways that I'm screwed up, or you're screwed up, or whatever, but they're human beings who God calls his own. Yeah. There really is something about choosing to view someone as a human being with love and dignity, regardless of what they do, their performance, their behavior, what they've done to others, right? And to make a choice to have a concrete act of kindness, not feelings, action, right? When humans do things like that in the real world, it's like we're participating in the very heartbeat of God.
It has to be a God thing too, because as humans, I don't think we have the capacity to do
it,
right?
No, of course not. Yeah. And we get to enter into the very meaning of the universe of loving one another. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And being together. Sure. So I'm not saying this is easy. I'm saying this is extremely hard, and we don't do it well. Neither of us do. None of us do. Yeah. We try really hard, but we don't. But when you do, amazing, life-changing things happen, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So today I wanted to end with a quote from Martin Luther King Jr.
Nice.
This explains, actually, even what's happening in the world right now very well as what we're talking about here. So I'm going to share this with you. The ultimate weakness of violence is that it's a descending spiral, begetting the very thing that it seeks to destroy. Instead of diminishing evil, it multiplies it. Through violence, you may murder the liar, but you cannot murder the lie, nor establish the truth. Through violence, you murder the hater, but you do not murder hate. In fact, violence merely increases hate. Returning violence for violence multiplies violence, adding a deeper darkness to the night that's already devoid of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend. So what will change our world? Love.
Yeah.
Like, I know that sounds simple, but it's not. This undeserved, put into action love. You want peace? Don't bring war. Bring love.
So now what? That was a powerful teaching, and especially just the way Jesus brings that across. There's nothing natural, I don't think, about that verse, right? That, you know, it's easy to love people who we like to love, or our neighbors who are friendly to us.
But anyone can do that.
Exactly.
Anyone can do that,
but
right?
But loving your enemies and loving those who hurt you, loving those who are against you is difficult, and it requires something beyond ourselves, I think, to do. You're going to need God's help. You're going to need something stronger than you in order to do something like that. And so as we talked about this today, it got me thinking about different ways in which we could, live this out practically. I think the first question to maybe ask is, who are your enemies?
Yeah.
Who are those whom, like, you know,
rub
perhaps...
you the wrong way, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it doesn't even have to be like a strong enemy. It could just be someone who constantly annoys you. Someone at work who you have a difficult time hoping the best for. Let's just say it like that, okay? And, just an enemy. Just who are those people? Identify them. Maybe take a few moments and try to figure out who that is. And I guess the second thing I'd ask you is, what would it look like to love them this week? What are some practical ways that you could go about, and maybe for you, it's just holding back those words maybe that you desperately want to say to them. Maybe it's buying them a coffee. Maybe it's just going out of your way to do something a little extra for somebody who would never do that for you. But this could be a way you could live out Jesus' teaching on loving those who don't necessarily love you. And so what would it look like to love them this week? And if you're the praying type, I would encourage you to do this. Name them and pray for the ability to love them this week. And just pray blessing over them. I remember once in my life having someone that I had a difficult time getting along with, and it frustrated me. And this is back in my college days. And I remember I just started praying for them. And this person had a family. And I just started praying blessing over them. And at first it felt fake, right? Because I didn't have like a heart change to go along with what I was praying. But within time, all of a sudden, my heart started to change. All of a sudden, this became a meaningful thing to me. And before long, we eventually became friends. And
he didn't change.
No,
he didn't change.
I had to change.
You had to change.
God had to change me and my attitude and view of the whole situation. And by the time we graduated together, there was no one I respected more in the class. Like, we became buddies, we became friends. And so just pray for people. Begin to pray for those who maybe rubbed you the wrong way this week. Bring it to God. He's big enough to take all of our issues. Nothing too big for him. Nothing that's going to surprise him or shock him or offend him, right? Just bring it to him. And, and let's pray for people this week. And so, good teaching and difficult teaching, but let's go into our world and do our best to live that out this week. And some practical ways we can do it are just practically loving people, practically praying for people. And so I'm going to leave us with a blessing today. And so these are the words I will leave with us today. May we go forth into the world in peace, being of good courage and holding fast to the things that are good in our lives. May we render no one evil for evil, instead strengthening the faint-hearted, supporting the weak, helping those who are afflicted, helping those who are being looked down upon. May we honor everyone, and may we love and serve God, rejoicing in the power that we can find only in him. And so bless you this week as you go about doing that. It's not always going to be easy, but I believe God will strengthen you in it. And if you look to him, he'll help you to do things that aren't necessarily natural.
I know. Like, look at every week I have to like him.
Yeah, exactly.
Who is stressed with the onions.
This is like proof unedited that we can love each other.
That we can love enemies.
Yeah.
And turn them into friends.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're just joking, but
yes. I hope she is.
I am. Thanks for joining us on Unedited. We hope your week is fabulous.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Cheers. Have a great week. Anyways, I hope you're not recording this.
Let's fill it up. Born and raised on a playground where
I'm not doing it. I really had a tough time getting over things in one day.
Video?
What's this, by the way?
It's a plant.
It's a
falling over.
No, it's supposed to do that. It's supposed to
Is
grow
it a bonsai?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a bonsai.
Started making trouble in my neighborhood.
Was that okay?
Yeah.
Was that all right? I took a gulp there.
It's always the gulp and the sip.